Hey, it's Hunt. You found Hunt on Saints. We're talking black and gold football. Do us a favor. Hit the like button, share your comments below, and hit that subscription button so you can get all of our content. Enjoy. Luke Johnson that covers those Saints for the Advocate joins us each and every Thursday talking black and gold. Luke, how we doing?
Palmer, my guy, I'm doing great.
Good to hear from you. Look, the Saints not paying their bills. What's the situation between the New Orleans Saints, the city, and the Superdome at this point?
Yeah, this is just really strange. That it's like two organizations, kind of prestigious organizations here in town, who are just like bantering back and forth through press releases. So I really wish I could give you a great answer on what's going on here, but it just seems like kind of this weird standoff that is ultimately going to have to reach a resolution, right? I mean, like this is we're talking about the renovation of the Superdome that needs to be done in time for the start of the season because they're hosting a Super Bowl this year. So it's just it's just weird, like the vagueness of these statements going back and forth, like the Saints saying, well, we needed certain documentation, we haven't gotten certain documentation, and then the LSED comes out like a couple hours later saying, like, putting documentation in air quotes, going like, what the hell are you talking about? It's stupid, and I'm just fully expecting this to be resolved when the grown-ups actually sit down in a room and figure out how to shell out a couple $1 million, which is like a drop in the bucket for the Saints.
Yeah, I'm curious the effect on, like, would they have to potentially miss a preseason game here or there before this gets resolved? What about the lease that the team has with the stadium, and is that kind of the time frame we're working with here? Like, what are some of the time restraints on this situation?
Well, yeah, I mean, this thing needs to be done by like mid-August, right? At least to a point where it's not going to like hinder the operations, the day-to-day operations of the Superdome from August through February when they're hosting the Super Bowl. So like that's why I think when we're talking about why this sort of bickering has reached the public sphere, it's because the clock is kind of ticking on this thing. And whatever their disagreements are, like it needs to happen. And I thought it was interesting that the LSCD in the first press release that comes out yesterday, the first comments about this thing is saying, like, there's maybe we don't get this renovation done if the money's not there. Obviously, like, they have to get it done soon. There's still a little bit that needs to be completed before the start of the season, and as we're sitting here, it's May 23rd, and we're talking about a preseason game that's supposed to be played in the Dome, like August 20 something. 3 months. I got 3 months to get this thing done.
I'm curious, this renovation that we're talking about, are you talking about the completion of the entirety of the renovation project, or just what they're trying to do in this offseason? Because isn't it like a years-long deal that's being done in phases?
Yes. I haven't like looked at the phase completion schedule here, but it was my understanding that this thing was all geared toward this year's Super Bowl.
Okay.
And getting everything finished and ready for that. There might be aspects of this that are going to be completed after the game, but this is the major parts of the Superdome renovation. We're kind of contingent upon them hosting a Super Bowl in the first place. So I don't know if I don't know for sure if there are more renovations that are set to be done after the game. But the vast majority of it is aimed to be done before the game.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but essentially what you're saying here, that you expect this to get figured out when the adults sit down, and that there's not going to be any tangible effect on the fan base as a result of this bickering in terms of the press releases.
Yes, that is my take on things. It's so strange to see it play out this way. These sorts of things almost always happen behind closed doors. And not just with the weird, vague public statements kind of going back and forth in the span of a couple hours. It was just weird watching that all ping pong yesterday.
Big Louisiana vibes on this.
Yes,
this
huge Louisiana vibes.
All right,
how can we bring the deranged Louisiana politics into our sports? Like, that's exactly what we need here.
Exactly. So let's talk some football. OTAs this past week. Anything that stood out to you?
Yeah, a lot of things. one, I just thought it was really interesting that Trevor Penning is kind of stepping in at right tackle right away. I think a lot of us were just like wondering what they were going to do with him. Were they going to move him inside to guard? Was he going to be start out as kind of like a backup left tackle, and maybe we see Landon Young out there while Ryan Ramczyk is still very uncertain? But no, I think it was smart to just try him out there and see what he can do, and see if it feels weird and awkward to him to be on the complete opposite side of the line where he's been his entire career. Kind of like the same thing that we were talking about with Tali Fuanga a couple weeks ago when they had the rookie minicamp. There's nothing we can really truly tell from these OTA practices. It's, obviously they're not running pads. They don't even have the full contingent on the roster out there. But I think it's a good sign for Penning that they're looking at him with the first team offense right now. I think that means his offseason's gone. At least it hasn't been a disaster, right? Which is, I think, all you can hope for right now. You just hope he turns into a dependable player. Maybe he never turns into a great one, but if he could be a starting caliber player on your team, that's a good thing. And the other thing for me that I just thought was really interesting, I couldn't stop thinking about it, was we go out there and the way it kind of works at these practices is they have two separate fields, and often, like, after they go through their stretch, the offense will go to the far field and the defense will stay on the near field, like kind of where we walk in. So after they break up, a lot of us will walk over to the offensive side, and I was looking for Taysom Hill, and I couldn't find him with the quarterbacks or the tight ends or the receivers. And then I'm like, where is he? And I see him, like, standing next to the guys in the 40 uniform numbers. He's with the fullbacks, which is just, it's like, oh, okay, weird, interesting. And then you see him go out there for 7-on-7, and the first snap he takes, he's lined up in the backfield, like in an offset eye. And he motions out of the backfield and catches a pass in the flat. And you're like, okay, like, we didn't really know exactly what Clint Kubiak thought of Taysom Hill. He's had a very unique role in this offense that has stood for a long time here in New Orleans. But you bring a new guy in, you're like, okay, how does he see him? I think it's pretty clear that he sees Taysom Hill as a weapon and somebody you can use in multiple ways, the way the Saints have been using him, and really even building on that. So I think a good sign for the Saints, because he was, to me, I think their best player on a per play basis last year. So good to see that they're continuing to kind of lean into finding more things that he can do.
I was thinking about the Saints this morning and how I wanted to approach this discussion with you. And one of the guys that we have just not talked about really a lot at all since really training camp of last year is Kendre Miller. I know the injuries were the reason for that last year. Is it realistic to expect him to take a big piece of that role at running back this year?
I think kind of remains to be seen. The thing is that they're bringing in a completely new style of running scheme, and sometimes these schemes like the different backs are more successful in it. I don't know if Kendre Miller's skill set is exactly what fits this scheme until I kind of see him operate in it a little bit more. I think his best trait is his explosiveness. But maybe that's not exactly what the scheme wants out of its running back. Maybe it's needs somebody whose best trait is their vision. Maybe this is like something that's really going to bring the most out of Jamal Williams, who was, frankly, awful in this offense last year. So like I just think it's a little bit too early for me yet to say whether this is going to be a fit for him. Or any of the backs on this roster. I just kind of want to see how they handle, like, the setting up the blocks and the way this new scheme works. I think I feel pretty comfortable saying Alvin Kamara is probably a pretty diverse scheme fit. But with Jamal Williams and Kendre Miller, I'm just not sure how that rotation is going to shape out yet. I just kind of want to see a little bit more. But I was really encouraged by the way he finished last year. It was a huge disappointment for much of the year, whether it was injuries or just like generally ineffectiveness out there. But if they can like figure out this blocking scheme, and if that clicks for him, I think he could be really, really good, because the explosiveness is just obvious with him. And that was something they really lacked last year in the run game, was just like a home run hitter. And I think he can be that guy if it clicks for him.
It's way too early for me to ask this question, but I'm going to do it anyway. Do you expect that the offense is going to look significantly different than it did last year?
Yes, I do. And I just think that's just based on what we know about the scheme that they're bringing in, which, granted, little, right? We've only really seen it in one practice, and it's like the early install period, and we're not seeing the full thing, but we are seeing bits and pieces of it being different, more pre-snap motions. I think San Francisco played a pretty heavy percentage of its plays last year with a fullback on the field, and we're watching them out there in practice, and they got a fullback on the field for pretty much every snap. Sometimes it's Taysom Hill, but I think the offense is going to be noticeably different. And I think that's a good thing. I think they needed a change here, and specifically a change toward a scheme that had demonstrated success in the NFL. This is not like some of the other schemes where really it's just a play caller who's making it. I think when you're looking at the Shanahan, McVay offenses, pretty much every single one of those guys who's branched off and had their own offense and called their own plays has had a lot of success. I mean, I think like 6 out of the top 12 offenses by like total yardage last year were McVay Shanahan offenses. So I just think it's going to look different, and I think it's for the better. I'm actually anticipating the Saints are going to be an effective offensive team this year, assuming their offensive line is just not a complete dumpster fire.
Guess that remains to be seen. Luke, have a great holiday weekend. Thanks, man.
Thanks, man.
Hey, it's on. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.